Hey, ¿qué pasa, amigos? How you guys doing? Hey, thanks for coming by again. And I'm just going to cut to the chase. I'm not going to yammer too much like I'm so good at doing sometimes. But guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something that's not practical. I'm going to do something that's really inconvenient to most riders, even sometimes to yours truly. And what may that be? Well, check it out. Remember when I took this perfectly good Shovelhead and made it a real pain in the butt to start and to shift and the clutch by making it an open belt primary and foot clutch and jockey shift and kick only? Well, I'm going to do something similar to this bike right here. Now, with the exception of making it an open belt, it's going to stay an enclosed primary, and it's definitely not going to be a kickstart only. But this is what I've done. See, I was on the internet, and one of the things I like to do when I'm online is to look around to see what there is on, say, Lowbrow Customs, tcbros.coms, or even Prism Supply or eBay or yada 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 yada, to see what kind of interesting parts I might see, whether I need them or not. Most of the times I don't need them. Well, that's not true. Half the times I might need them. Well, heck, anyway, but I saw something I didn't really have to have, but it looked kind of cool, and I wanted to give it a shot. This is what I got. Got me a box of Prism Supply goodies. Check this out. What we got here is the slingshot clutch pedal for a clutch that is designed for a 5 and 6 speed transmission, meaning all the way from Evo, that is 5-speed Evos, to 5 and 6 speed twin cams. Came with a jockey shifter which bolts directly up to the shifter arm that's on the transmission, so I don't have to pull the inner primary off. Comes with a bunch of hardware to make it go together, and also comes with a custom clutch cable. So there are no directions in this box as far as how to put it together. It might be self-explanatory. In fact, looking at the bolt pattern on this, looks exactly like the bolt pattern that's on my kickstand, which tells me that this thing bolts to the frame, which the kickstand bolts to that, but I can also run this with floorboards. So without any further more ado, I'm going to see what I can make happen. So okay, as you can see, I went ahead and got the kickstand off, and there's this piece right here, which this is the part that bolts up to the frame as you saw it come off last, and then the kickstand bolts onto this side of the, where you can see the 4 bolt holes with the 3 bolt holes, you got it. And it dawned on me, the clutch lever, or clutch pedal shall I say, got the same bolt pattern. In order to run my floorboards, which my floorboard post bolts into that as this is bolted to the frame. The problem is this piece right here is in the way. Apparently what I would have to do is chop that piece off, which I don't really want to do that because what if I don't like it, then I won't be able to go back, which I foresaw that before it came in. So that is the kit. So what I've done is this, is that I got on eBay and I found another piece just like it that would go on it, and I went ahead and chopped that instead. So that way, if I don't like this setup, I can always go back to using this piece right here. Okay, that was a little bit of a challenge, but it wasn't too bad. Once I got my floorboards attached to where the kickstand attaches to the clutch pedal bracket, I noticed that I was going to have a little bit of issue of spacing between my regular bar. So I went back on Prism Supply to look at some of the pictures to see their examples, to see what they did to make up for it. And if you take a look, it looks to me like they put a spacer there, because once this bracket, well, I'll show you. This here is attached to this. Well, there's some extra meat added, So by default, there's going to be some space between here. So what I've done is that I've added a wheel spacer in here, which just happened to be, or close to be, the spacing that I needed. So It doesn't look too bad. Not a really big fan of it, but hey, that's what I had at the moment, and it looks kind of, I don't know, I hate to use the word redneck or white trash, but oh well, as long as you don't look down and see that, don't look too bad. But anyway, now what I do see, even though I don't have the clutch cable hooked up, here's the clutch pedal, and I don't know how much space I'm going to need, but it is hitting my oil cooler when I do that. So I might have to relocate my oil cooler or run without it, but I'd like to run with it. You know, maybe it'll move to the other side, I'm not sure. But as I'm seeing on this camera, my battery is about to be drained. Okay, we're back, and it's the next day, and I could not get that oil cooler to work out. As you can see, check this out. As I removed the oil cooler, this pedal came down even more. I may not have to have it come down that far, but nevertheless, I found that even if I did leave the oil cooler on there, my foot would definitely hit it, and I had suspicion that I wouldn't be able to, you know, disengage the clutch like I need to. So I tried to move it to the other side of the engine, I mean the motorcycle. And when I did, I even removed this cover right here. That's where my master cylinder is. But when I did, the little spigots where the hoses would go to, this was in the way. Not necessarily the cover, but even the master cylinder was in the way of the hoses. I even thought about moving the oil cooler this way, where it would face that way some, but I just didn't like that. I then thought that, well, when this bike came out in production, it didn't really have an oil cooler on it anyway. So I'll just run it without the oil cooler for a while. I mean, it is an Evo. Evo's a little bit more resilient. And on top of that, you know, the oil cooler that's on the Shovelhead is not necessarily as good as this oil cooler right here that I pulled off the Softail. But nevertheless, you know, it gets the job done on the Shovelhead for what it can do. So maybe I can eventually pull the oil cooler off the Shovelhead and eventually take this oil cooler, which is a much more superior oil cooler, and put it on the Shovelhead, because I would think it would probably serve the Shovelhead a lot better, because shovels tend to be a hot running engine anyway. You know, they're a product of their time. And also, this is a little bit off topic what I'm about to say here, but if you guys remember this bike right here, yep, that bike is still here, and we're not quite done with it. And we're going to do some more stuff to it. And this is the guy who has the motorcycle. This is Mark, guys. This is the guy who has a blue Shovelhead, and we're also been trying like heck to try to make a round peg fit into a square hole with this bike. But you know, when it comes to old bikes, you can do anything you want. You know, with a little bit of a grinding wheel and duct tape, we can make it happen. What do you think?
And that special hammer of yours.
Yeah, and the magic hammer. I'm gonna go ahead and put this camera down, and Mark's not very camera happy. You know, I didn't ask him to put him on camera. That's usually how I do it. It's like, hey, this is Mark, just like anybody else. Anyway, I'll catch up with you guys here in a second. Okay, now it's after the short intermission, so let's see what we can do with this motorcycle. Okay, check this out. I almost messed up, so I thought I'd share this with you guys. If you ever buy one of these Jockey Shift foot clutch kits from Prism Supply, check this out. The new cable came with a jam nut on the end of it, right there. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I don't need a jam nut, because every cable I've ever installed like this didn't have a jam nut. You know, it didn't make any sense. And so I took it off, and I was about to install it, but then I got curious. So I started to compare my new cable with my old cable. When I take the two base nuts and compare them, as you can see, the new cable has a longer throw, you know, as you can see that. So I put the jam nut back on there, and I compared it with the base nut of the other cable, and they got the same amount of throw. Which it dawned on me, check it out. This thing is advertised as a kit for 5-speed and 6-speed transmissions. 6-speeds and 5-speed transmissions are different size cases. So if you have a 5-speed, you want the nut on there. If you have a 6-speed, you just take the nut off so you can have the right amount of throw. So anyway, that's good to know. I'm glad I didn't have to experience any kind of aggravation because I wasn't paying attention. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and see if I can figure out how to route this thing, because I don't have much room, but apparently they wouldn't sell these if they didn't work. So Okay, it's all together. And now I'm at the nervous part where I am used to a shovel head with a dry clutch, foot clutch, but no idea how this is going to feel. But anyway, check it out. Got my clutch lever in here, or clutch pedal, shall I say. Got my shifter right here. It attaches directly to the shift arm. You don't even have to take your inner and outer primary out. The only thing I couldn't run with this was my coil cover because this was hitting it, so I just pulled it off. Who needs a coil cover anyway, right? Even though it looked good, but it is all bling. This is going to be quite a thing since I'm used to it as a hand clutch bike. So without me yammering my hammer any more than I already am. Okay, already I'm nervous. Was this a bad idea or not? I have no idea. I haven't even put my foot on this clutch to see how it feels. Oh wow. There's my shifter, okay. One forward. Oh, that goes into gear a lot better than my shovel head. And here we go. Oh wow, this is nuts. Okay, now I have to get into shovel head mode, which I think I got pretty good practice from that. I don't know, this is kind of weird. Okay, and the sand here sucks. This is a really weird feeling on this bike. Alright, let's give it a shot. Oh shoot. I guess a clutch adjustment is in order, but let's try that again. That's not neutral. That's neutral. Okay, let's try this again. Oh wow. Oh man, this is really weird. But I'll tell you one thing's going to happen is that there won't be any confusion as far as going from this bike to the Shovelhead, because this motorcycle right here and my Shovelhead have been the two main motorcycles I would want to go ride when I want to go ride. So when I was in Florida, or at least going down to Tampa last time, I was in some little town somewhere, and I didn't get it on film. Of course, you know, my battery died, like I said on my last video. I always tend to want to put the bike in neutral in every bike I ride in order to, you know, save on the throwout bearing and that push rod that goes on the clutch. And anyway, when the light, I've been riding my shovel so much, even though I was on this bike during that trip, I've been riding that shovel so much. When the light turned green, I mean, muscle memory kicked in. My brain knew better, but my foot moved before my hand did, and I dumped it into first and stalled the bike out. Part of the reason why I did this. So okay, yeah, this is a little odd. Let's see if I can make a U-turn with this thing. All right. Oh, I'm in first. Okay. Oops. Well, that was fairly successful. At least I didn't dump it. But it sure is weird to have a foot clutch jockey shift scenario, you know, being used to the shovel head and then having so much pick up and go. Yeah, there is definitely a lot of difference between this on the shovel head and an Evo. I know I'm comparing apples and oranges, but hey, the transmission is a lot tighter on this. It wants to go into gear. Already I've chirped the tire a time or two downshifting, but I think that was more because I'm not used to the foot clutch scenario. I mean, this is a cable clutch, not a bunch of linkages like on the shovel head. But it is kind of cool that it doesn't want to lunge forward like on a dry clutch. It sure is a heck of a lot smoother than the dry clutch scenario. And it's kind of funny, I feel like I'm riding the shovel in some regard because of this, but then it's cool to look down and see a speedometer that works. That's pretty cool too. There won't be any confusion as to how to operate a motorcycle between these two bikes. That's the fringe benefit. Oh, I also have the, you know, there's somewhat of a peace of mind that between the two motorcycles, I can park the motorcycle just about anywhere I want to with some discretion and not worry about anybody running off of my bike, because if they do, they're more than likely going to kill themselves, especially on the shovel. Even if they do get it started, I'll catch up with them at the end of the block. I've been yammering too long, so I'll see you guys at the house, all right? And we're back. Oh, and there's the Shovelhead sitting over there pouting and whining and crying about, I thought I was the only one with a jockey shift and foot clutch. Man, I normally back into these things. All right. Well, that was fun. My oil temp is just above 150 degrees, so that does make a big difference from taking the oil cooler off. I wonder how it would do going down the highway long term like that. You know how much hotter it would get. Oh well. Well, that was, ooh, man, I got a red spot on my head. Oh well. Well, that was interesting to say the least. That's going to take some getting used to. But yeah, if you ask me, it actually, you know, doesn't look like a bad setup. I mean, I think a little bit of a clutch adjustment might make it a little easier. But it is kind of strange and interesting. So I guess I'm going to leave it here with you like this. And as always, you guys keep the rubber side down and you be good to yourselves. Thanks a lot.